Mr. Rob Vincent. Welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks. How about yourself?
I am good. I'm good. Always appreciate talking to you for sure. I know it probably feels like a distant memory at this point. You were saying you're itching just to get going, but how was your off season? Did you do anything fun?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it's obviously a change of pace. You go from training every day and being around the guys, and then all of a sudden everybody gets up and leaves, and it's just, myself, Bushy, Bob, a couple of other staff members, knocking about. So it was good. Obviously we put the combines together, so kind of from a work standpoint, a lot of office work, a lot of phone calls, recruiting for the coming season. On a personal level, you get your weekends back. You get to spend more time with Katie, my wife, Ida, my daughter. So see a little bit more of them and enjoy Christmas, enjoy the holidays. And then once January comes around again, you start kind of getting those texts from the guys. They're starting to come back in town, and then like I say, but I'm glad that off season is over, and it kind of gets to you after a while. You just want to be on the field, and you just want to be playing again. So
Yeah. No, you could tell that you have sort of an itch for it, where it's just like,
yeah,
let's get back in there.
yeah.
This is going to be your second year as an assistant with Bob. As a result, did you approach this off season, this preseason, any differently? Sort of having 1 year under your belt with him.
I don't know if I approach it differently. I probably just had more clarity in what my role was. Last year, just kind of approaching everything for the first time and learning the role, learning the expectations, learning kind of my responsibilities, and again just picking up what Bob wants, and obviously got 12 months behind me now. So from a recruiting standpoint, you kind of know the type of player that he wants to bring in a little bit better. I kind of know now what my role is going to be throughout the season. So probably just, I mean, again, just on a very simple level, like I have that year behind me. So I just, things I can roll with things a little bit better now, but just more clarity, and, still kind of approach it the same way with just kind of 100% kind of focus. And, I always try and do everything I can to the best of my ability, but I just have a little bit more kind of experience now, so I feel I'm probably in a better place to help a little bit more this year.
What's been your assessment of the preseason so far?
Good. It's certainly a different group. Um, I think training is better. I think we feel like we're in a better spot compared with where we were last year. That's not to kind of put too much expectation on this early part of the season. There's always going to be things we have to figure out, and good results, not so good results. So, I'm not necessarily saying that it's just going to click week one, but I certainly feel like we're in a better spot. I think there's a better work ethic around this group. We're happy with the guys we have in. So feeling pretty positive. Just again being my second year, and just kind of remembering what it felt like going into the beginning of last season. I do feel as though we're a couple of steps ahead. So the feeling's pretty good. Obviously trained today. Only 48 hours away from the game now. So I think the guys are ready, and like I said, just that itch to get going.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit this past weekend, and at least on paper, it feels like if you were comparing position by position, it feels like we have a little bit more depth. We have a little bit more experience kind of across the board in different places. One of the hardest things for us as fans to sort of gauge from the preseason is just how good and how much we should expect from some of these new guys. And I'm just curious, are there any guys, not including Augie Williams, I think we're all kind of expecting a lot out of him, but that sort of jumped out at you throughout the preseason that you think might be able to really contribute once we get going here?
Yeah, I mean, not to, I don't want to single
Right,
any
of
of them
course.
out or leave any of them out, but I think they've all done well in their own way.
Hmm.
They're all, talking specifically about the rookies now, young guys who had impressive college careers, but, the way we run the combine process and the way Bob signs his players, I mean, you have to earn it. You have to come in and you have to be with our guys. You have to prove that you can not only adjust to our training environment, but also show that you're ready to go in and play straight away. And some of those guys will have to play straight away because, early season injuries, figuring out the kind of best formation and the best system and the best combinations of players. So I'm sure they're all going to get minutes, just to kind of run through them and give you guys a little bit of kind of insight. We have Beto and Max, who are the two, centre backs, both very good on the ball. I think they'll help us in terms of a kind of building out from the back, but obviously there's still going to be a lot of focus on them defensively too. But they've both shown throughout preseason that they're good on both sides of the ball. Charles has had a really good preseason. I think his probably standout game, which obviously fans weren't allowed to see, but we played the Pit and he had a really good game there and kind of showed his real quality. Just really busy, gets on the ball a ton, breaks a lot of stuff up defensively, carries the ball really well offensively. So we're excited to see how that can continue to translate and how it frees up other players, because again, the ton of energy the tons of energy he has is going to allow other players to kind of feed off that as well. We've often looked at kind of DG and then Jackson last year as players who have to provide that energy, and now Charles also adds into that. So maybe it frees up DG into other roles and allows Jackson to play a little bit more kind of, sitting in the middle. So I'm excited to see how Charles fits in. Jorge's a really, really technical player. He's probably got a little bit of growing to do on the physical side, and probably, he's probably got to get his defensive, abilities up, but again, he's going to be someone who plays minutes early in the season. And I think you guys will see, again, his technical ability, his ability to shoot from the top of the box, to thread a little through ball in. He's got great vision, great awareness. So excited to see how he grows. Brigham, obviously, his profile is kind of speaks for itself. He's a big boy, so in and around the six, and he's going to be a threat, but he's also quick. He can run in behind. So again, excited. He obviously scored a couple of goals against Indy as well, so that was a good start for him. And then Jason Borgi, again, another quick, dynamic kind of winger type player who can score goals, can strike a ball really well, works really hard on the defensive side. So again, I've kind of gone through them all there. That I think they all have something to offer. I don't think there's anybody who we're looking at and saying he maybe this first year is going to be a growth year where he doesn't play a ton. I think all of those guys can come in and make an impact straight away.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
You want that depth. You want competition at each spot. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We've heard from a couple of the players about, a quote unquote new system that we're implementing. And I'm curious, we've gotten some feedback from them about sort of what their thoughts are, but you as a coach, from your perspective, why was it necessary to try something new? And what do you think those changes will help us to achieve this year?
Well, I think, a lot of the discussions we had, even during last season, and it's sometimes hard to make those big changes as you're going throughout the season, because your identity almost becomes not completely locked in, but you kind of fall into that rhythm. And maybe we didn't quite have the players last year to become more expansive and have more possession. But again, overall, the feeling that we had as a staff last year, and this is probably no secret, I'm sure Bob talked about it many times, is that we just weren't able to dominate games a ton with the ball. We were obviously good defensively, particularly in the back half of the season, but you look at most of the games, we had less possession. And we just felt as though, if we could, and if we were able to identify and recruit the right players, that we wanted to have more of the ball. We wanted to put more emphasis on what we do with the ball, have more possession, and kind of, put a little bit more of that control in our hands. And I feel like we've done that. I think we've signed players who, kind of like I said, with those rookies, who they're all very capable technical players. They're going to help us have more of the ball. They're going to help us keep possession and hopefully create more high quality chances. But they still are going to have to buy into that defensive side of things. So, if we can be as tight as we were last year defensively and add more goals and add more possession, then I think that makes us a better team going forward. So that's kind of the deliberate change we made. We just felt, there was games last season, particularly early on, where we didn't have a ton of the ball, and teams, they get better each year. And, the teams who you give 65-70% possession of the ball to, they limit your chances, and they counter press well, and they stop you going the other way. So it was kind of a deliberate effort on our part to have more of the ball and to kind of control more of the game.
Yeah. The team's going to be playing more games this year, thanks in part to another competition. So, not just the Open Cup, you guys are also going to have the Jägermeister Cup. I'm just curious, as a previous player and now a coach, how do you feel about these additional competitions in addition to just sort of league play?
I think it's exciting. It's another competition, it's another trophy to play for.
Yeah.
Um, you know, be interesting to see how it plays out, and you know, um, obviously it was exclusively with League One last year, so just to see how it all plays out, and how the playoff kind of format will work when if and when we get there. But again, I think for the players, I think just having that other competition to look forward to, I think obviously only one team can win the USL Championship, and having another tournament to go for. The Open Cup has obviously been that in the past, but that's usually an MLS team who's going to win that. So, and a competition that only USL teams are in, gives us a realistic, chance of progressing and playing some exciting games. Hopefully, a high mark, for some trophies. So,
Yeah.
I think personally, if I was a player and even as a coach, I think it's an exciting addition.
So now, just to sort of like keep digging at that just a second, get in your head a little bit. So obviously, as a player, any game you play, you want to win. But
Yeah,
as a coach, you kind of have to balance. At least we've seen it in the past, where maybe personnel wise, you have to make certain adjustments to account for the additional games. So
yeah.
just from your perspective, especially in the early stages, does that play in your head at all, or are you going into this just going, "I want to win all of them," and like that's it?
I think our mindset is definitely to win all of them.
Yeah.
Again, we wanna be able to play for those trophies. I think the priority will always be the championship,
Hmm.
and winning, the USL. Um, and I think sometimes when you have midweek games like Open Cup games, I think you usually use that as rotation, whether that's a full rotation or whether that's kind of like a little bit of rotation here and then a little bit of rotation in the next league game. It looks based on what I've seen with our schedule, like most of those games are on a weekend anyway. So
Hmm.
we won't really necessarily need to rest players. Um, but as a staff, I don't think we're really thinking too far ahead just
Yeah.
yet. So, we'll probably play that a little bit kind of when we get there, we'll cross that bridge. And again, I think, yes, you do want to use that as an opportunity to give some of the players who are maybe on the bench and on the fringe time to get some minutes, and the pressure's off in some sense. But again, on the same token, you still want to win those games and progress, and again, play more games at home
Yeah.
again, and then maybe have two trophies to play for at the end of the season versus just one.
Love it. You are about to embark on really an 8 to 9 month season. If you could have one more week to prepare, one more week of preseason, what do you think you'd focus on?
Um, I'll give you the boring answer. Well, actually, no. I mean, first of all, get a couple more guys just a little healthy. We had a
Yeah.
couple of injuries in the middle of preseason. They're kind of coming back to fitness now. So, we have one or two guys out this weekend, but we have a couple of guys returning, which is eased things up for us a little bit. So maybe that extra week would just be used to get everybody back healthy and give us a full slate to choose from. But no, I just think continuing to get the guys up to speed, an extra week of fitness, an extra week of gelling. There's going to be some new relationships out there. A new centre back partnership, obviously, possibly moving into, different formations. So just gelling and getting guys on the same page. But the beauty of this part of the season is everybody is, building a new roster and starting afresh. So, yeah, I think we're just ready to get going, and then obviously use these first couple of performances and results as a benchmark and a gauge of where we're at, and see where we need to improve.
Yeah. You guys are obviously heading to North Carolina this weekend, which I want to talk about in a second. But I'm just curious, is there an away trip that you look forward to more than others? Like, is there a city that's fun to go to, or maybe a team that has a really nice facility that if you could pick one, which one do you think you'd point at?
Um, I don't know, because I mean, sure, there's some cool cities that I guess we get to go to. Like last year in Phoenix, Sam, our athletic trainer, and we got up early on the game day and um, went for a little jog, and then we like went up Camelback Mountain for a little bit. That's actually a funny story. He told me it was 2 miles away, and I was like, I don't mind jogging 2 miles to Camelback, and it turned into a 6 mile
Ooh.
run, which with my knees is not good. So that's still something we laugh about in the office now. So every time Sam asks me if I want to go for a run, I'm asking, is it 2 miles or is it six
Yeah.
miles? Um, but no, I mean, sometimes the timeline that we have, I mean, you get into a city, you go straight to the hotel, maybe you train, you grab some food, and then the next day is game day. So you don't always have a ton of time to sightsee. So there's a couple of places where we go to where you're in the downtown area, which is, you get to see some of that. Again, Phoenix was nice because we were kind of close to some kind of scenic views.
Yeah.
I always look forward to Loudon because it's close. My wife and I have some family there, so we get to see, the family can come to the game, and sometimes Katie and Ida will make that trip.
Yeah.
So I like that one because they get to go to it. But I think if you ask the guys and the players, I think they like the nice grass fields. Lexington last week was nice. That was obviously the first time we've been there, so they have a really nice stadium, nice training facilities, nice grass field. So that's usually what, as a player particularly, and even now as a coach, like playing in the nice stadiums and playing in front of a lot of fans is always what you want to do. So, a full stadium of, 5, 10, 15,000 fans. I like Detroit last year too, just because it's very hostile and
Yeah.
very kind of atmospheric. So yeah, when I was a player, like that, even like 3 to 4,000 like rowdy fans always beats like 10,000 quiet,
Yeah.
spaced out fans. So
Yeah. Love
yeah,
it. Love it. Love it. Let's talk about North Carolina. What
yeah.
what are you hoping to see from the guys this weekend?
We talked today. I mean, it's just a continuation of what we've done through preseason. Again, there's been some good performances. We feel again we're happy with kind of the work rate of the group, the quality at times. We've definitely had more possession, like we talked about previously. A good kind of benchmark for that is when we go up against Loudoun, who are a team who also likes to play a lot in possession. I think you take the result out of that one a little bit, but we feel like we went toe to toe with them in terms of being on the ball and creating chances. We were really happy with the game in Lexington last week. I think we had to show for 20 minutes that we could really kind of work hard, defend on a big field, against the wind in the first half. And then we grew into that first half well. And then in the second half, we had the winds at our back. And I really felt like we controlled a lot of that second half. So that was, I feel like, a really positive step forward last weekend, particularly because we were missing a couple of guys as well who didn't make that trip. So it'll be a kind of similar environment this weekend. Grass field, big field, fast. But yeah, just to keep taking positive steps forward. We're going to win. That's the message, is we're going to win, or we're going to try and win and get off to the best possible start. But again, it's just one step in the journey. So let's just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Lead with that real positive work rate and attitude to be together, and then see where the game takes us.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. You mentioned earlier how we're kind of in the same boat. All of these teams are kind of rebuilding from scratch. How much of this are you guys actually looking at North Carolina and trying to anticipate what they may try to do? And how much of this is just let's focus on ourselves and try to implement what we want to do?
I think more so, particularly with it being game one, you're more so focusing on yourselves because, who knows what, any of these teams could do. They may have a bunch of new guys who they want to start. We know who the returners are, so we can take a pretty good stab at what we think their lineup's going to be, but we could be completely wrong. So you don't want to kind of, overestimate what that team's going to be, and then you get that wrong, and now you're in the guys' heads of, oh well, we were expecting this lineup and we got this lineup. So again, we have an idea. We know some of their dangerous players, and we talked through that today of who we likely are going to see, and kind of we use our experiences from them last year. How they play, what kind of system we expect them to be in. But again, I think focusing on ourselves, regardless of what team we come up against, is probably going to be key. And then as you get into the season, by week 3, week 4, most teams have played a couple of games. You can start to really dig into the systems and the key players. And again, you see so much chopping and changing from year to year, that you don't really want to guess too much, in these early stages.
Yeah. Well, Rob, always appreciate talking to you. Obviously, best of luck. I'm going to go ahead now that you're here and add another little tick mark next to your name. So now you are beating Bushy 4-2.
I did let him know, like, when about an hour ago, I just stopped by his office and I said, I'm going to go put another tally on. So
nice. Love it.
yeah, I thought it was 3-2. I'm glad. It's good to know it's 4-2.
You have an extra one because we had you on back when you were a player like years ago. So you got to jump on Bushy. So yeah, I think you might take this. Have fun in North Carolina. Here's to a win this weekend, and I'll talk to you soon then.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.